What do you got, Kristen? Big day. Going undercover today, right?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:30. Welcome. I'd like to ask you to please join me for as we stand for a moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if you have roll call, please.
Brad Nance.
Here.
Ken Snyder.
Here.
King Hamel.
Here.
Jeff Delostra. Here. Tom Akers.
All right, next item is approve the agenda. I'll take a motion for that, please. So moved. Support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Delostra. Aye. Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye. The next item up is, during our meeting, is this public forum. Is there anyone wishing to address the council at this time?
I might be someone that would want to do that.
Okay, is it something pertaining to something on the agenda that's coming later, or, okay, then now would be your time. So I'd ask you to step forward to the podium there, state your name. Okay. And
My name is Roger Schmidt.
I own a property on South Fifth Avenue. I've spoken with Sam about it. And I just have a lot of questions with what's gonna happen with the property that's been bought there, and how that's gonna be developed. And I have a little parcel of that's adjacent to my property that I would like to buy. And I think this is the right group to be asking about that. Am I correct?
yeah, did you say South Fifth or North Fifth?
South Fifth Avenue.
Okay, so you got the North Fifth coming up in your discussion later.
It's that little parcel inside the paved ground.
Oh, okay, okay.
South of that, where the house that burned
All
down
right, all right.
3 years ago. And, I'd recommend that you visit with that CDC on the matter.
Yeah, that,
I'd be happy to follow up.
It's a separate group that I need to contact.
I'll help you out.
Okay.
Yeah. This gentleman in the middle over here, be happy to introduce you to after the meeting.
After the meeting.
you're welcome to stay. I don't know how long this meeting is gonna go.
Well, a lot of it isn't gonna pertain to me, I don't think. Okay. Someone told me it's still for a meeting in a couple hours, is that correct?
I'm not.
We do have a, if I might,
Yeah,
we have a closed session on an unrelated matter after this, so how about Roger?
I still need to be.
We'll get a hold of you in the next couple of days,
Okay. I
okay?
just have.
I've got your-
We're very early in this game.
Yeah.
Like, that's right, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. I have questions about when the city sewer is gonna come, and I don't know if all we have, I think that are in a pretty distant future. So then I'll just speak with you again and Sam at the meeting. Is that okay? Okay.
And like I said, you're welcome to stay, but it could be an hour. And in closed session, everybody leaves the room other than the council members. So if you want to hang around, that's fine.
I have a specific matter that I would like to discuss.
Yeah.
And I may not be talking to the right group here, but I think Sam's gonna point me in the right direction on it.
Yeah, and so if you do that tomorrow on a phone call or a meeting with us, if you'd rather,
Okay.
it's your time.
I'm not gonna sit down or anything. I got a couple other matters I could attend to, and then I'll.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Thanks.
You got it. Any other comments during this part of our meeting? Any other comments?
None.
Okay. Then let's move on to approval of the consent agenda. Take a motion for that.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostrov.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Snyder.
Right. Then let's move into the new business. Item A is a resolution approving the adoption of the line of duty and off-duty death policy as an amendment to the City of Sheldon Personnel Manual. Any comments from the exam?
Yeah, if I can introduce Randy on the matter. So this is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and we started putting the outline together before Randy and Center Benefits came online, but it's really gelled in the last few months, and now we're ready to move forward, so thank you for your help, and if you'd like to briefly present it for us, it'd be appreciated.
So I'm Brandy, I'm from Center Benefits, for those of you that don't know me. So this is one of the first projects that Sam had tasked us with, and as you can imagine, as an employer, any organization, one of the worst things that can happen is having to go through the process of losing an employee, whether it be on duty or off duty. So I worked pretty closely with Angie, and we had work review connections with Woods Fuller, review the policy. And the policy covers a number of things and processes. Our goal is to be consistent and to have a tool to use where we can quick access the information and quick go through a punch list of what needs to be done, who needs to be notified, how the family would be notified. And of course, this all varies and is different depending on if it's an on-duty or off-duty death. So this would apply to all full-time and regular employed staff. We covered the communication roles, whether it be who communicates with the media, how they're communicated with. There's a family liaison that is also appointed that would work with the family on what their benefits would look like, helping them file a claim. They would help even post memorial to try to help the family, whether it be through counseling services, through our EAP, and just to basically provide them support if they need anything from the city. They would be that point of contact. And then we also included some information there about EAP debriefing if needed as well. And this policy would be included in the employee handbook, as was already mentioned, and reviewed annually. And also if an event like this were to happen, it would be evaluated at that time to make sure that it's still relevant and effective.
Anyone? No? Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. So given that explanation, we have a resolution to approve. Are there any further questions? I would entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Last chance for questions. Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye.
All right, let's move on then to the consideration of rezoning the 331 North Fifth Avenue property. Again, I'll do the comments.
Yeah, if I can just briefly explain how this rezoning is set up on the agenda. So we have public hearing and then close the public hearing, and then the next item, public hearing, close that one, and then the way it's written up, so the two rezones are in the same ordinance. Right, so you'll just have your public hearing and close it, and I don't believe we received any comments on either one.
Is that right?
We did at the planning commission level, and that record's available, but we haven't received any new comments.
Okay. So then I would like to open up the public hearing regarding the Martin Linda Beek property at 331 North Fifth. Anyone wishing to address that? Seeing no activity, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
So.
Support. Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye. So then we'll open the second hearing regarding the 415 West Park property. Anyone wishing to speak to that at this time? Seeing nothing, I'll take a motion to close this hearing.
So moved. Support.
Roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
All right, so then on to item D, which is considering the resolutions and ordinance for rezoning those two properties. We have the resolution, we can waive the second and third reading if desired, or we can move on to the reading. Any comments or questions regarding either one of these properties or the process?
Well, it's good to see the Park Street one, the corridor, the first part of that revitalization happening, so that's getting exciting. So I'll make a motion to approve the first reading.
Support. Okay. Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Snyder.
Anyone desiring to waive second and third? If not, we will go on to the second reading.
I'd like to wait. Go to the second reading.
Okay. Motion. So we have, Thomas requesting us to move on to second reading. Do we need a motion to do that? Okay. So we will move this on then to a second reading. Give opportunity for more public comments if anyone wants to speak to this. See where it goes from there. Item E, considering the ordinance amending the code of ordinances pertaining to public hearing requirements. I open a public hearing regarding that matter. Anyone wishing to address that? Motion to close the hearing. So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Kent.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Eggers.
So then on to the resolution and the first reading. Any comments you want to make regarding this?
No, it simply streamlines and aligns with the rest of the changes in state code and the changes that you made recently.
Is this an item we can approve and waive? Would you recommend waiving second and third, or?
It's up to you. There's been no comments, and you're doing the same thing with all the other hearings that you have, so it makes sense to just proceed, but it's up to you.
So I'll take a motion to approve the resolution. And then it's up to you if you want to move it on or waive that second and third reading. You do it all.
Do it one motion. No, you should do separate motions.
Okay,
So you can just do a motion for the resolution of the
Okay.
first reading.
All right. Motion to approve the resolution first of all.
So
Support.
Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Eggers. Kent.
Aye.
Snyder.
And then your desire regarding the second, having second and third reading.
Move to waive the second and third.
Okay, we have a motion to waive
Okay,
those.
I'm sorry.
No,
You just did, the resolution. We haven't even approved the first reading.
Oh, sorry about that. All right, sorry. Thank you. So, okay, first reading, we need a motion to approve
I
that.
make the motion to approve.
All right, support. Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Ostrov. Aye. Hamel.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Okay, now, take your motion. You wait a second.
Second, the third, maybe he's changed.
All right. Approval for that, or a second for that?
I support that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ostrop. Aye. Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Snyder. Hamel.
All right, then moving on to second introduction of the capital improvements plan. Anything for you?
And if I could hit just a few of the highlights on what's been requested and how this is a little bit different from previous years. So, starting last year or the year before, we introduced this to council 2 or 3 times. So this is the second introduction, and this time we have all the departments listed. And there was a few of you that recommended that there be very just brief presentations or opportunities to present by each of the departments, and then an accompanying memo. So we have 5 of those memos that have been linked, and the others are in progress. So we'll have a third discussion of this at the first on the 19th. But we, starting in order, we have the Crossroads Pavilion here today, and Trish's. Maybe we can just start with that one. Just a brief highlight. Her memo is linked to the agenda.
All right, Tricia, welcome.
Thank you. I was waiting for the ambulance to go first, but they're not here. Hi. So I quickly did my memo today, just some bullet points to go over things. If you have questions, just stop me and ask if you would like. But just to point a few things out with our fiscal year CIP 26, fiscal year 26-27, we moved a few things from the current year into the next fiscal year. And that's due to the pausing of the storage building that we were hoping to add to our property. And with that, we're looking into an existing building or a standalone, or do we add to, and we're in the process right now of some of that, gathering that information. So we just forwarded that information, such as the storage building. Excuse me, we originally had that down as $62,655. And it was for the retaining wall, and we changed that to storage. We found information, or we pursued information on building that, but now we paused that to see what's the difference if we add it on instead of adding a standalone to the east. So we moved some of that information, just kept it there. Some of it was going to be landscaping that would be needed, updating and changing out the staff office and west storage room. Again, it's kind of on pause until we know what the scope of service and information we find out with our next board meeting and what direction to take. So with that, all of that information stayed the same. Changing out, or adding to, the parking lot planning. We added information onto that, and again, that's for engineering services, just to help us figure out what could we do, and if we could do it, where would we do it. Then fiscal year 27-28 is the actual parking lot west edition, and then building standalone or addition. Those numbers are a little high. The first building that we wanted to build to the, I feel like repetitive, to the east was around 148, so we just bumped those up a little bit because we're not sure if we're going to get standalone or add to or add on. The engineering, we added in there for helping us with scope of services with the parking lot and a storage building. Then in 28-29, we added technology updates just because AV connections and projector replacements are expensive. So we thought we should start forecasting that because there's going to come a time where we will need to replace and update as they become outdated. One of our projectors alone is like 16,000, and we have 4 of them. So if we had to replace, it's a significant increase. So we thought we'd add that to the CIP. 29 and 30 interior updates. At that point, the building's gonna be 10+ years old. We're starting to see wear and use now. We're able to keep up with that, but eventually some of those things will need to be changed out, whether that's the wall, paper, or which not. So we just put a little number in there. And then in 30-31, why not dream, right? So maybe we can update our patio with some upgrading and landscaping. And if you would like a reference, please check out the Shores in Emmitsburg and what their patio looks like. we'd never be able to do as much because they have a lake. But, it just gave us a wow factor when we went out there, and I thought, maybe that's something you could dream about, so. So do you have questions? Again, this is our dream. Nothing is set in stone. We do need storage. It's just gonna be a matter of where, how, is it standalone, is it added on, or is it added to? We don't know. We're pursuing that with that information. There, now I feel like I'm gonna roll. At first, fumble jumble. Questions? Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other comments or questions regarding any of the CIP?
One and then this one.
Okay.
Fires next.
Okay.
Library.
We have certain wire here.
Brad.
And my department. Do I need to go to the podium or can I
You
stay?
can stay there.
Okay. Yeah, the fire department is a plan that the officers come up with every year. We look at it a couple times a year. The big item this year is we have a fill station for our SCBA's. Then a lot of it's just ongoing things. Replace fire gear, nozzles. We do plan on refurbishing our old tanker, because we do plan on keeping that added to the fleet. So we want to replace some valves and lighting and different things like that. The other thing is emergency services are always, we're all in need of space. So we have some money in there to do some engineering or something to look at space for a fire station, ambulance, and the police department's the same way. We're all cramped for space. Then 27, 28, it's just some of the same thing, fire gear, pagers, radios. We have rescue tools, rescue struts in those, known as the Jaws of Life. 28, 29 is basically ongoing things. We get into 29, 30 is a little bit hard to guess. We just put in some continuation of stuff, we'll update as we get closer. 30, 31 is gonna be a big ticket item. It's a replacement of the rescue truck. That's probably about 900,000, it's an estimate. A 2.5 year build time, so, we need to start thinking about that in the next couple of years, about starting that process of manufacturing. It's crazy at 2.5 years out, to get something. So yeah, that's basically it. You know, the biggest thing, we appreciate the council and the city, their continued support of the fire department, and our biggest challenge is in volunteers. It's space right now. We continue to add to our services and we get called to different things and expand our footprint. We need to have a bigger footprint. So it's capital improvement is a work in progress as we go down the years. Any questions?
All right. Library is next. Would you podium, please?
Library director,
Hold the mic a little closer to you, please.
the new library director.
Awesome.
In fiscal 26, 27, you want to add a new refrigerator and oven to our community room. Because been pointing out, one of our board members, Jessica Hughes, wants to lead some cooking courses for both kids and adults. And I felt like by having a new refrigerator, that'll maybe make it easier for her to find foods to make. And who doesn't love anything more than food? Kids and adults, anyone wants to come to anywhere where they get to learn these skills and get free food. We also need to add a cement drain to the street to reduce water ice and algae on our sidewalk. And our Sheldon Public Library sign currently, I noticed when I arrived here in Sheldon, it's really rusted and worn out, so I was working to get a new sign design and found one that I really liked. In fiscal year 27-28, we'll be removing the heaters in the basement and fixing the holes in our wall, which our heaters were messed up during the flood last year. We also want to be adding landscaping to the library to make it look more friendly and welcoming, so I'm working with Jeff Longstair to figure out what landscaping plans we want to do. And our front door in our library does not properly close, so we're hoping to get that fixed. In fiscal year 2029, our doors to our garage needs to be fixed. And in 29 to 30, we might need to consider getting new roofing. And sorry if I spaced this stuff out too much than I needed. Sam pointed me out, well, why didn't you do all these things in a closer year? Well, I didn't want to be asking for too much in my only being here to want to say, well, I want all this stuff done in one fiscal year. No, I don't want to make you feel like I'm asking you to do too much. So sorry if I messed things up.
I have a question.
Yeah,
The basement heaters
yeah.
are not functional anymore?
No, they are wrapped. They do not
So
work.
how are we heating? We're not.
So, yeah, they are wrapped. They haven't worked.
I think the baseboard heaters, Pete, I think there might be, because there are a couple of registers in the ceiling and stuff.
There maybe, I don't know.
So the library has two systems. It has the HVAC system and then it has baseboard makeup heaters. So I think what she's referencing is the baseboards.
Okay.
And they haven't, they may have, the flood may have finished them. I'm not sure they were functional for a lot of years before that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Not hearing it. Thank you for being with us today. Aaron, you're up next. Been recognized you with uniform.
I'm recognizing without my clothes on. I put in the CIP notes, not pretty much references the 5-year CIP plan. For the 15-year CIP plan, it's a little bit hard to predict what the stuff's gonna be in 15 years. Most of our CIP stuff is just ongoing, updating equipment as it wears out and everything. One of the bigger ticket items in the 15-year CIP plan right now is just a made-up number for the garage. I have no idea how much that's gonna cost or anything, and I don't know when we would try to do it. So what we're looking at is, the police department has a few vehicles that are parked outside, and then there's also other city vehicles that are parked outside. So rather than try to engineer a whole new structure and everything, we've just been talking with Neil Chase, and they've been looking at what it would take to just add on to the side of the police department garage and just fit as many garage spaces in the space available that we have. So I don't have any solid numbers for that yet. So that number at this point is just a placeholder until we get a little farther with Neil Chase. Does anyone have any questions about any of our other things?
So I noticed there was a replacement canine in there, what, 2 years down the road? Yeah, maybe. What kind of number was that again? Remind me.
I think the number in there is $20,000. I think that's what we paid for Fallon.
Okay.
And then that is also, hopefully that year is correct. I believe it's not the next budget, but the following one. Kind of an unrelated note, Fallon does kind of have her leg right now. So next week I'm going to be taking him to Sioux Falls to a specialist to get that checked. So far he seems fine, but something's bothering him. So hopefully that's fine. Hopefully that's
Well,
how this conversation.
Would workman's comp do that one? Okay. Any other questions for Eric?
We've also had significant community fundraising to help with Alan that we'd also be able to tap into when we talk about that.
Right, we have, I put the $20,000 in there, but that's not necessarily out of the city budget per se. So we do community fundraising from K9 unit, and I know that we do have money in that, whatever you want to call it, line item, just from community fundraising money that we had not spent. So it's just with the money that the dog costs, but not necessarily what we're gonna ask for.
Anybody else? All right, thank you. Thank you. Cool. Oh, it's fun.
Thank you for your time. Although I'll be starting the discussion, you all know the real expert is April, our SEDC president, so we'll call on her if there's any specifics needed. For an interim director, it was very helpful to have a land acquisition plan, a strategic plan that was created by the work of a consultant and the SEDC board, and that was dated July 2025, which was a great roadmap to help us lay out this 5-year plan. So you've seen my memo. For the sake of time, I might just bring you to one particular line item. That's the development of residential ground. That's the third up from the bottom. That would be the paid land. And if you just think about it in terms of 3 chunks, we've got an initial $2 million component to that, which we start in the near future, a second one in the 29-30, and then my column, which you don't have, would be 31-32, would be that third. So it's just designed to get things rolling in residential, and that's a good place to start thinking about this plan. You can see the other numbers there. We're talking about development of some additional commercial industrial land, the restoration of that fund, $700,000, which was used in some of the financing of the paid ground. We're calling for that, not calling for it, penciling it in on 2030, $700,000. And then in that later 5-year, another purchase of potentially of some residential ground, $2.5 billion. So all big numbers, we know that, but that's kind of how we saw it at this point. Be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mark?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
I don't think
Are you
we're
ready?
on today.
I did not go today. I'm okay.
Go ahead, give it all.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Cemetery, so, 50,000 in the upcoming year, that'll be to finish the roads on the interior. I don't know if you've been to the cemetery since we started working on the roads, but, what a huge improvement there. So that will finish what I call the inner square of the cemetery and actually put us in a pretty good position. We have some money a couple years out in case we need to do something to the road on the north end. Beyond that, there's just $10,000 every year to do stone repairs. That's something we started a number of years ago. That's been a nice improvement for areas where stones are tipped over, there's no families around, whatever, so we'll put a new foundation in, reset the stone, and just get away from dangers and just keep things looking a little better. We'll continue to work on tree trimming and removals. We've removed a lot of trees out of the cemetery, but boy, if you look, there's a lot of trees that needed to come out of the cemetery. Duratio took about, 25 more out of there for us this year, unfortunately. One thing I really wanted to discuss in the cemetery though, and I'll be bringing these 3 letters up again when we get to water and wastewater, and that is a GIS. So it's a geographical information system. What we believe it'll do for us at the cemetery is actually make our cemetery user-friendly, not only for our staff, but for the public. So it'll be a web-based program. They'll go through the records that Ange and her team will provide them, and you'll be able to go on an aerial view. You'll be able to see what lots are for sale, what lots are taken. We believe that might help us sell some lots in the older parts of the cemetery because when somebody comes to look, they always end up going and looking in the new area, and they don't maybe realize that we have several nice lots for sale in some of the older areas. So we're hoping that that'll help us fill in some of those areas. You'll be able to we'll have an interface available where the public can type in, Yule, there it is. so on and so forth. So we think it's going to be super nice for everybody. So that's what I have for cemetery. Questions on that. Unfortunately, the name of the company that we plan on using is Sam. And that's the truth.
I had a question the other day, and I didn't know that. Who do they see if they need to buy a plot? And I didn't know.
Oh, they come city hall here.
Just
Yeah, they come see Angie or
okay.
Gonna need a font.
Okay.
Yeah.
I told them to come to the city, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You bet. Okay, what else do we got? Park. I was really cautious with the park, and I didn't put a lot in it simply because we knew there was a presentation for the city park master plan last night. So, you know, I've got some tree planting and whatnot, and those will happen maybe in Hills Park or whatever. I think after last night's presentation, we'll probably steer clear of City Park for just a little bit until we figure out what that path actually looks like. You know, if we're moving things around or if we're adding some new infrastructure in there. Otherwise, we'll continue to do some general improvements and some building maintenance and try to add a few amenities here and there. So I'll stand for questions on the park if you would like. Thank you for those who attended, who were able to attend last night, by the way.
That was the best who weren't able to attend. Is there
There'll
any
be-
information?
Yeah, I mean, I do have last night's presentation, paper, but also electronic, so I could forward it to you, Tom. Just understand that last night's presentation, and I know Brad, you were looking for that too. Last night's presentation was in draft form. Based on discussions that happened last night, there's things in that presentation that are already changed, some omitted. One example would be there was a $1.7 million community center in there that the park board is suggesting we don't do. Obviously, that's still up for discussion, but they didn't see a need for that in there. So, but yeah, I can call you on to you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yep, pool. A lot of general maintenance, believe it or not, that pool was built in 2008, so it is starting to show wear and tear, pumps, slides, whatnot, so maintenance.
We opened in 07,
I thought we opened July 8th.
no, I'm pretty sure.
All right, I'll go with it. We opened in 07, my apologies. So just some general maintenance there and things. You'll see in the year 4, we still have the desire of some sort of splash pad at the pool. That's the belief of the Park and Rec Board that is the appropriate place for a splash pad if you ever so choose. We need to replace a lift. You know, we have to keep a lift available to get for accessibility reasons. Even though we have 0 entry, you still have to have a second way to get people in. There's some grates that are over the deep end and underneath the slide that even though they look like they're in perfect condition, you must replace them every so many years because they got a stamp on them that says so. So some of that kind of stuff is in there, just general requirements to keep up with the rules and regulations. Yeah, that $15,000, that's for 4 plastic grates. Just be honest, that's what it is. So. Anything on pool? You did approve in the last budget, replacing the little slide in the corner. That is ordered. So that is on order. It's supposed to show up here over the winter. And I believe my team is, I don't know if they know this yet, they are going to attempt to install it. Should be good times. And if they're watching right now, surprise. So,
We should buy donuts for that.
yeah. I may owe them a steak dinner or something. We'll see how that goes. Recreation. The biggest thing in year 1 there is a resurfacing project of the tennis courts, pickleball courts, basketball courts. That is the entire facility. If that number ends up to be too much to stomach, we can do it in small sections. We can break that down and even court by court if we so chose to. So that will be a topic of discussion at budget time when we really look at numbers. Can we do it all in one chunk or does it need to be broken down? But if you've been on those courts in a while, or recently, while they're still usable, they certainly need some TLC. So, otherwise, some pretty basic stuff. The shade structures at the sports complex, that's been a desire for a while. If that happens, the intent is that would be a joint venture with the school district, something that would be in the 50-50 range. Most everything that happens there is 50% us and 50% the school district, so.
Is it a shade structure?
Yeah, so, one of the downsides of that sports complex, as great as it is there's no place to get out of the sun. So this would be some shade structures over our bleachers. There was talk, and I don't want to get into the whole tree conversation, but there was talk of planting a bunch of trees around there. But one of the best things about those fields is they dry out and they drain extremely well. They do that because we graded them right, and they do that because we tiled them right. And the last where we need to plant trees for shade is right where we have really nice tile systems, and the roots will just cause us all kinds of troubles. There are times we host games there after a morning rain, and I think there's no way we should be able to put ball players on those fields, and we do because of the way they were constructed tile, so we just don't want to jeopardize that. Anything, any other questions on rec? And obviously, yeah, you'll see in rec too, they got the dugouts and upgrade to the ball diamonds at City Park. Obviously, it's there as a placeholder, but we'll pump the brakes on that until we hear more about the master plan at that point as well. Road use tax, street department. So just a lot of maintenance items on a yearly basis. We've been spending between $75,000 and $100,000 a year just on crack sealing. I really believe, and Lyle agrees, that we are starting to see the benefit of that in our roads in town. The increased maintenance is making a difference in our opinion. So we got a couple of small overlay projects in there. One of the big ticket items is in we got it in 27, 28 because that's when we need to start planning. But Second Avenue, the intent is to rehabilitate Second Avenue, which is Old Highway 60 from North City Limit Line, the water plant, down to South City Limit Line, which is just south of Maintainer. That's about a $3.1 million project. Granted, it's not designed yet. That's a rough estimate. Do remember that we did receive a $1.3 million grant to go along with that. So that will help us substantially in paying for that project. That project is scheduled for summer of 2028. So really in the year we've got the 3.1, that'll be our design year, and then it'll be the next year of construction with the bulk of the funds that are available.
Question, Todd, when you say rehab, does that mean tear out and replace or overcome?
To be honest with you, Pete, right now, the way we have it in there, it's a mixture of stuff. It's there are some areas where it's mill and overlay. There are some areas where it's full depth patching. There are some areas where it's partial depth patching. And there are a few small areas we're anticipating having to reconstruct. There's some storm sewer improvements that need to be made that we'd like to do as part of that. So all of the above is the correct answer on that. Beyond that, there's a new street sweeper in 27, 28. Oh, don't quote me on this, but I think our current street sweeper is approaching 15 years old. A lot of moving parts, a lot of maintenance. It's still doing a pretty good job, but it is starting to show wear and tear, especially, you probably don't think about it, but when we're sweeping, you're picking up all those abrasives. That's really hard on the box and the tubes, and we've rebuilt them. We've had Ed rebuild them. We've had Heartland Steel rebuild them. We just, keep patching and letting it along, but it'll be time for something different to come in. Payloader out on the end. We house 2 payloaders as we speak. That's another big ticket item, but I think the oldest one is in 2002. So by the time we hit 2030, it'll be approaching 28, 30 years old. Probably time to look at replacing that piece of equipment. That's all I have for road use tax, unless you have questions. Stormwater. We just plugged in some dollars for general maintenance. You'll notice that those dollars are a little lower than what I quoted during the fee. That's mainly because we're able to actually put a few more bigger ticket item projects in there. And because of that, we think we can reduce a little bit the yearly maintenance because we'll take care of a bigger group of issues with the bigger projects, if that makes sense. If I'm wrong, there'll be bigger numbers in the coming years. So anyways, yeah, just some general maintenance. We got a bunch of storm sewer intakes to be replaced in the 4th and 5th Street, 7th and 8th Avenue areas. That's one of the first projects we'd like to do there. And then we'll follow that up. Actually, one of the asphalt overlay jobs follows that up to refurbish those roads. We've got some more of the large diameter pipe on 7th Avenue over here. If you recall, we did this project from 11th Street to discharge a couple of years ago. We got some more of that pipe coming up to the 9th Street area. That is large diameter clay pipe and showing its age. So that's out there at the end. Hopefully it's not sooner than that, but that's where we're headed with that. Questions on that? Revenue is coming in, well, the first couple of months were under anticipated amount, but not because we weren't sending to all properties in town yet. We had said it was gonna take some time to fully develop that billing plan. Ange and her team have been working on getting that finalized, but for what we've been sending, revenues are coming in very close to what we anticipated. So we're happy with that. Wastewater. So we've been spending a lot of money on I&I, pipe replacements, manhole repairs. We'd like to continue that. We've seen a lot of advantage of that. Honestly, it just reduces the odds of backing people up. So the more of that we do, the more we're helping our customers. So we'll continue down that path. One thing that we'll need to have some discussions on at budget time is the North Fifth flood mitigation project. As you'll recall, back in '24, we lost that lift station. It was inundated by floodwaters, and we could pump no sewage in there for a couple of days, and then we threw some duct tape and Band-Aids on it, and got going for a while. Since then, we've made full-blown repairs to get it back to old status. Wastewater superintendent and I, Dean Paulson and I, believe that we probably owe our ratepayers more than that. They say that the flood of '24 was a 400-year flood. So will it ever happen again? I don't know. I believe that we have to plan that it will. If you agree with us, then our intent would be to, essentially, you have to leave the wet well, or where you collect the sewage. You have to leave that in the low spot, and gravity feeds to there, and then you pump it out, and you've got submersible pumps in there. But what we would talk about doing is raising the top of that structure up, so add more curbing to it. So you reduce the odds of flood water going in it. And then secondly, taking the backup generator, the control building, all the electrical components, the VFDs, and the PLCs, and honestly taking them up to the top of the hill and running longer wiring in between. Try to get them to a higher elevation and reduce the odds. We have looked at flood walls. We've looked at dirt berms. We have looked at a wall system that has a gate that you stack in right before the flood gets there. Those are cheaper. We can do some of those options for 200 to say 300,000. We're certainly not opposed to those. They do offer a layer of protection more than what we have now. But ultimately, what we have in the CIP is our worst case scenario and max protection to our clients. So at some point, you as a council are going to have to decide how much money do you want us to spend on that. Remembering that lift station services about 30% of our community. Go ahead.
Won't that lift station you get more valuable as we continue to build out east?
Yes, essentially that lift station services 50-60% of our people north of Highway 18, and then if you took East Elementary east, it all goes there. So yes, any more development to the east adds flow to that lift station.
So do we need to really address that at the same time?
The ability for more capacity. Yeah, I've said this before. If we develop any more east, we will have to spend a lot of money in transportation piping from east to there. We'll have to increase the pump size and potentially the wet well size of the lift station itself. So, yeah, Tom, we could look at a project that upsizes the wet well at that time. What I wouldn't recommend though is increasing the pump size until we actually get the more flow, because otherwise you'll end up with an oversized pump that's, your lift station's gonna fill up and then it's gonna bam, flow down, and it's hard on things to turn off and on.
I'll just think of the economy, since we're doing everything else.
There might be, so maybe we could include some upsizing of some of the close by piping, maybe we could include an upsized wet well. Something we can certainly look at as part of it.
Also, how much higher do we need to go?
So.
If I was about to lift the whole thing up.
Well, to get above the flood waters that came in 24, you need to raise it about 6 feet. 6, yeah. We were about, the flood was about 6 feet higher than we'd ever been before. There's marks on the buildings that were 4.5 feet. The actual wet well structure is a little lower than that, so I'm roughly guessing 6 feet to stay dry from last time. The other thing we have to remember, if we just build a wall of protection, while that makes sense, it makes sense until it goes over the wall. Plus, if you're getting heavy rains, you have to have infrastructure in place to pump the rains out of your structure to keep the floodwaters out. And you end up with an important piece of infrastructure that's got a moat around it. And now we can't access it during a flood. Well, I guess we do have a tiny boat, but what we do, but that's maybe not great. Yeah. So just a lot of things to think about. I hate to stand here and say we need to spend $700,000-800,000 on that piece of infrastructure, but if we're telling you what is best for the community, in our opinion, it's that if you agree with us that it will happen again. Not a matter of if, but when. It might not be in my career, but we believe it will. The other big ticket items at wastewater is $600,000 of some dewatering equipment. So when we built the new wastewater treatment plant, that came online July of 2019, unless Angie tells me differently. Then I'll go with her date. But the one piece of equipment that we did not start over brand new with was our dewatering equipment. So we have a sludge press, for those of you that have maybe seen it. Anyways, it's starting to really show its age. If we wait until the year we have it programmed, we'll have brought it out another 10 years past that. It's just going to be time to update that infrastructure. And honestly, we're hoping by the time that we do that there's some better technology than what we're using today. But time will tell with that. Any questions on wastewater? Okay, last one, I think. Water department. A lot of maintenance items at the plant. A lot of maintenance items within the system itself. So we really kind of ramped up our valve and fire hydrant maintenance program here over the last couple of years. Again, I think we're starting to see some good benefits from that. We have some better equipment now to help us maintain that a little more effectively and a little more efficiently. Last budget cycle, you approved us to buy a valve operating trailer and a vac machine combination. We spent about $100,000 on that piece of equipment. The guys are absolutely in love with it. We are able to get valves to churn to full close that we've never been able to get to churn before. We've also broke a few trying to get there. That's part of it. But honestly, if the infrastructure is going to break to try to get there, it needs to be replaced anyway. So it's really helping us find our weak spots and helping us save some money too on not having to replace all of those valves that won't rotate. It's a nice piece of technology. It allows us to set torque settings so we're less likely to break stuff. And whatever, I'm not gonna attempt to explain it tonight, but it's really nice. The GIS is in there, the GIS is also in wastewater, and GIS is also, I should have put in here, part of the stormwater system too. So what will it do for us in water, wastewater, and stormwater? We will have the company come in and we will have them shoot a location of every valve, every fire hydrant, every manhole. When they do the manhole, they'll inspect the condition of the manhole, they'll put it into that data entry. Every time we dig up a water main, every time we dig up a sewer main that's buried and we have no way to locate, we will have equipment to take a shot on that so that we'll know in the future exactly where that piece of infrastructure is. Going forward then, since we have a GIS system, every time we open up a new development, we'll have the engineering team, as they're doing their inspection services on the new install, shoot all that information, and it'll give us a robust mapping system like Sheldon has never seen before. It is going to be a great benefit, probably not so much for, I mean, it'll still benefit people like me, but the next generations are really going to benefit from us doing this now. Yes, it costs some money. Yes, there are cheaper ways to do it. Talk to communities that did it the cheaper way. Bad idea. Just a bad. And by cheaper way, what we intend to do is hire the company to come in and maybe we tag along to make sure they get all the infrastructure, but they're taking all the shots, they're doing all the data collection. You're not spending 8 hours a day for 7 weeks with them, right? They're doing a lot of that collection. Communities that have tried to just go out and collect a little here and collect a little there, they're 6, 8, 10 years into their system and they hardly have any data. They lose time. Some communities have hired a GIS technician, and that is all they do. They do GIS work, and they do utility one-call locates work. I don't know if any of you have a clue how much time we spend doing Iowa one-calls, but it's a lot. It's a lot in the construction season. And see, Chantel probably understands that. But anyways, it'll help us with our locating too, right? So when there's a contractor digging over something, we will have more accurate data of where our stuff is, which will reduce the amount of times that somebody hits our infrastructure and damages it. Which I don't know if any of you know this or not, but we had a sanitary sewer force main get hit last week, and we have a very large operation going tomorrow morning, starting at 7 a.m. To make that repair. That lift station I just told you about, we have to 100% bypass that lift station because somebody failed to do an hour one call and put a hole in our sanitary sewer force main. That means we have six back trucks coming. We're going to be hauling sewage from locations around town to other locations and dumping it back into the system in an attempt to not back people up and also not flood Chantel's husband with sewage when he's down there fixing the pipe. That, oh, by the way, is 18 feet deep. Yeah. So, anyways, it really helps us. It will really help us in the future. So, I really hope when that gets presented at budget time, that will be an easy yes for you. Last thing I'm going to talk about with water is you'll see some bigger numbers in the very bottom. That's the LNC expansion payments. So, February of 26, we have to make about a $345,000 payment. We have cash on hand for that. February of 27, $44,000, we'll have cash on hand for that. February of 28, another $346,000, we will have cash on hand for that payment. February of 29, we're going to need to make a payment of around $975,000. We're going to be about $500,000 short, if I can do math, when that day comes. And if revenues keep coming in at the same payment. So we will likely need to bond in 27, late 27, to be able to make our payment in 28. And I would assume at that time when we do that, we would bond enough for what we're short, plus our $770,000 that we'll owe in 29 and $80,000 to $100,000 that we're going to owe in 30. The funding source to pay for that bond will be the same revenues that are building cash now. That's the beauty. I don't believe we're going to have to raise rates to make these payments. We'll be able to make these payments off of our water sales to Clayreville Water in South Dakota, our water sales to the city of Sioux Center, And of course, the Lewis and Clark surcharge is on all of our bills here. Speaking of water sales, the Sioux Center, we're currently selling at 200,000 gallons a day. January 1 of 2026, we start selling them 500,000 gallons a day. That is all I have unless you have questions.
We'll call you the water czar for nothing.
I didn't know you called me the water czar. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Anything from you?
If it's okay, we'll defer, ambulance, EMA, airport, and city manager to the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Permitting and code enforcement update.
Yeah, if I can, so Todd and I had a discussion on this, and we thought since Steve wasn't able to come over tonight, but initially we thought he was coming over for the zoning items, and so we thought we'd have the permit update and Steve's monthly report at the same time. So, obviously the focus has been on code enforcement. There's also important to focus on the great skin as well, or the positive, and that's the permits that we've been issuing. And we just issued a very large permit yesterday for the new day spot.
Yeah, see crystal servers.
Yeah.
And so the actual name is, I don't know.
First one here.
So that's a very large permit, so very nice. So SCDC and the city work together on that one. So that's not reflected on this report. There's a lot of good things happening. So, Tom, if it's okay to mention this, you and I had a conversation about perhaps having a workshop or a special council meeting on code enforcement strategies and discussions. So maybe that's something that we could do and fit in sometime in the next 6 months. Might be a good idea before we get into the next season if we want to have a conversation about that. So our resources are limited, but I believe we've been somewhat successful with the resources we have. It's a difficult process that we work through and requires a great deal of discretion. And as the mayor and some of you can attest, you get phone calls on both sides of the same issue, and it's challenging, caught in the middle. So continue to appreciate your feedback and understanding. This summer, we sent close to 250 letters. I know the comment has been made, and it's a very good comment that we should just move forward with writing tickets. I do believe that there is a great deal of compliance that come with the letters. I'm not opposed to exploring the ticket process. It would require some changes to the code and our process with the city attorney. I think that at least initially, until the tone has been set, you'll probably receive even more negative feedback than you receive now. That's done, and take it, trust me on that one. So
Is that done through PD or another organization?
well, there's several ways to pursue it. You have some of it's in the code of ordinances and some of it's in the zoning code, but that requires more.
Ticketing process itself.
Well, it would require the city attorney's office to be more involved. The municipal, basically, we would be writing municipal infractions and handing those out, basically fines, with an appeals process, either to the city council or to the board of adjustment, depending on the path. And without getting too in the weeds right now, Steve and Mike have had a conversation about how some of the codes could be adjusted, and I think that's why it might be a good idea to have an hour of separate discussion here, like we did with emergency planning here.
All right, any questions for Sam? Is there anything else in the report you'd like to talk about now?
Okay.
Todd, do you have anything else?
No. Still too much.
Mark, anything from you?
Two real quick things. As you know, IEDA came to Sheldon a couple of weeks back and did downtown.
Use the mic, so we can on the video.
Yes, a couple of weeks ago, the IEDA had a couple of representatives that did a walkthrough downtown. Just received that report. We'll be sharing that with our board and then developing a process on how we get that out to the larger public. So we appreciate that. Actually, the Sterler, there's a groundbreaking a week from this Friday at that location. So be able to look out for that groundbreaking ceremony.
Eric, anything? Angie?
No, thank you.
Mike?
No, thank you.
Council to my left. All right.
Thank you.
The only comment I have is a thank you to all who performed their civic duty yesterday, by getting out to vote. Thank you for those that ran, both school board and council. And look forward to another 4 years working together as we change faces here. Look forward to bigger and better things. With that, I'll take most ruling closed session.
Or,
Roll call, please.
Kent, Sager,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Ostrowski, Hager.